Sometimes it's one of those bad hair days. And I just had a good time painting a miniature. Some videos we're just gonna hear cat noises in the background. There's just, some days I just give up. Rowan, do you have to dance in the blinds right now? Why right now? You couldn't have done it 30 minutes ago? Greetings, good humans, and welcome to Tabletop Alchemy, where sometimes it's bad hair day. And sometimes we have fun just painting up a mini. And we thank our patrons from the bottoms of our hearts for not laughing at us too hard. Okay. Yeah. There'll be cat noises in the background. Today, the video is sort of hopefully emphasizing the whole just painting nature of the painting session, the whole nature of the painting session I had, creating this miniature. This is not, hopefully today, the free flow form of the video, even though there is a script of some kind, just emphasizes the relaxed nature of the painting session I had in creating the miniature for this video. I don't want to examine that sentence anymore. We're moving on. So I did just have a good time painting up a miniature. You know, I'll talk more about that at the end a little bit. So a couple of videos ago, I painted up a few minis for an actor friend of mine who wants to play Rangers of Shadow Deep, the game. And today, I'm painting up another mini for another actor friend of mine who also wants to play Rangers of Shadow Deep. So this will be his Ranger on the table. I had this particular miniature in the Pile of Opportunity Primed and Ready edition, so I sent a pic of it over to my buddy, Jared, to see if he'd be okay with it, and he responded with this little nugget right here. And so I started painting. Without a color scheme in mind, of course, because that's just the way I roll. I always forget about coming up with a color scheme until I'm like literally, like something's already primed and I'm just sitting down and then I pick it up and I go, oh, yeah, what do I start with? What colors do we put in there? So I made this one up as we go along. I mean, that's kind of how I paint most things. Why buck convention, right? It's been in this zenithal primer for a couple of years in the figure case I got over there somewhere. And to put it simply, there is really nothing better than just, opening up a display case and pulling out a miniature that's primed and ready to go. I shall again be making prodigious use of the Vallejo Xpress colors. I really do like these Vallejo Xpress colors. And for the first chunk of leather, I wanted something darker and less saturated brown than any of the bottled colors. So we'll just mix up some black and brown and go to town. I did not want to read that line, but I did. This is just a travesty of YouTubing. Moving on. The figure's legs are all like in these mummy wraps instead of like traditional boots. So, why not, put some mummy white express color on them? I thought this lighter color might be cool for applying some grunginess later on. And as an aside, this mummy white looks just like coffee with a tick too much cream, but it literally looks edible. It does. Hey, we all know I'm weird. We've already established that. Moving on. He's also got some wraps under the bracer and his jerkin, so why not just stick with the same color, right? I'm a fan of using the colors you've got on your palettes and kind of reusing them in as many parts of the model as you can. It kind of creates cohesiveness and whatever, and maybe stays away from the clownness that's possible for when you're painting a miniature. But anyway, for the jerkin itself, and no, I don't know if this thing he's wearing is actually a jerkin, because I don't think I actually know what a jerkin is. But, I'm sure Google knows, so there's no reason for me to know, right? So for this thing, I thought some nice warm leather color would be perfect. And so I'm using some actual traditional paint here. I love most of the AK Interactive 3rd Gen paints, especially the browns and the blues. Those shades they're just really nice physically to work with. They have just a nice consistency. This one is called Hull Red, but it's not actually red. Well, you can see what it looks like right here. It's a very rich reddish brown that just flows off the brush really nicely. And like I said, I always look for any spot that can use the same color I'm working with, and I think the quiver is going to work great in this leather color as well. Okay, here's some more traditional paint. I'm putting the classic Citadel flesh color on the skin parts. We'll wash these down with Express colors later. He's got his hands and a bit of an arm and what looks like, I guess, his neck tendons. I don't know. Those are all the skin parts that are exposed. So now onto the cloak. I'm trying to wet blend some olive greens on this cloak, and I am terrible at wet blending. I don't know why. It's literally, at least it literally seems to be the easiest, or at least like it should be the easiest painting technique to do, and I've just never been very good at it, as you can see. But we don't care. We're getting some kind of green cloak out of this mess at some point. Somehow, some way, right? I mean, whatever. And then now the skin tone has dried, so we can put down some tanned skin Express color, and I totally should have added some Express medium to this, but I didn't, and so it's going on really dark and a little bit splotchy, and you'd think one day I'd learn, but, you know, not painting every day is a sure way to not learn, I guess. That's kind of true of anything. If you just sort of do something haphazardly, you're going to be haphazardly good at it at best. Anyway, my buddy has... Why did I write this? My buddy has... My buddy Jared has graying hair. Hey, Jared. I suppose he'd like me to say he's got salt and pepper hair, but I figured I'd give this figure gray hair, and so I'm trying to put some streaky hair-shaped highlights on the primer, and I just end up having to do this again later after I put some Express color wash on it. Anyway, this guy knows, I forgot, is it Jeet Kune Do? I don't, he knows whatever that martial art is, that Filipino martial art that uses kukris, and he's like really bizarrely good at it, and I should stop talking about him right now, because things might get painful for me. Now, I'm just going to layer up some choppy leather colors on the quiver and try to give it some highlighting and also some texture. And then I'll use the same highlight colors on the jerkin. Jerkin. I can't. I got to go look this word up. And yes, I was afraid of this. This is not a jerkin at all. It's a... I don't know. It's a leather coat thing. Short sleeves. Actually, the one sleeve is like torn. So it's like short sleeves, but it's got a long tail in the back. I don't know what this thing is called. So we're just going to keep calling it a jerkin. To be jerks, I guess. That's what we're going to do. So now I got to go back in with the flesh tone because it's still on the palette, and I can fix a little of the blotchiness from the too dark skin tone wash, which wasn't even a wash. I just painted that tan skin Express color directly on there. I should have made it into a wash, but I did not. So, you know, if I was a real painter, I would now do 17 more progressively smaller highlights on his fingers. But, you know, we know where we stand with that. I'm not after grandeur, man. I'm after okay. And then I have time to go play video games because I'm not doing 15 more highlights. Oh, that's dumb. It would be more valuable to my life if I did 15 more highlights and not played a video game. Oh, look, I added some more hash marks with another progressively lighter leather color. That makes a total of 3 shades used for highlights, a personal record of highlighting steps. Now, you didn't think I was going to leave that bright green cloak all bright and green, did you? Silly viewer, this is Tabletop Alchemy. We don't highlight up, we shade down. Is that going to work? Is that memeable? We shade down. All right. Yeah, I actually did want this dirty green sort of look for the cloak. Seriously, I did want a dirty green cloak. So, you know, it seemed like a good time to test this camo green Express color that I hadn't used yet. And it's pretty dark, but to further prove that we shade down, we're putting some greasy black onto that pristine coffee with creamer mummy white, and it's working just like I thought it was gonna. And I'm putting the tried and true Army Painter strong tone all over the quiver and the jerkin, because I'm pretty sure it'll soften it all down in a good way. I hope. Now, these stabby things on the bow are probably supposed to be metal, but they kind of look like bone, and I like the idea of bone better than metal, and so they're getting painted like bone, not like metal. And then I go right into highlighting up the foot wraps with the same bone color, because it's on the brush, and there it is. And then I added some more of the greasy black on the lower part of the feet just to grunge them up even more on the bottom parts of the mummy sock shoe things. Yeah. And I added some of the same stuff to the other wraps on his arms to keep it all in the same cloth ballpark color. I put it on his hair too, but I neglected to film that bit, the greasy black express color. But here we're putting down those same streaky highlights to get some of the salt back into the pepper.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Then I got to put some black express color over all the little metallic bits, of which there are not many, just the 3 earrings and 1 or 2 other spots, so very little metallics on this guy coming up, which is cool. Now for the shocker. I'm sure you've all been wondering what color the face mask was going to be, with its wood grain and cool faceless sculpt. Did you guess turquoise? I mean, I was originally going to do it like a bright, glowy green, but at the last moment, I went with turquoise for reasons I'm not really sure myself. I think maybe I thought it would stand out more against the green cloak versus like a bright green, face mask. Although I think that would have worked as well, but turquoise is there, so that's what we're rolling with. And his pieces of armor also have the same matching wood grain, and so I figured they'd better be the same color. The turquoise is not a great choice, but it's not terrible for some reason, at least to me. I think it's kind of cool. I always forget to paint the arrow shafts, so here's some vague brownish color that I chose specifically because it didn't match any of the other browns that are already all over the miniature. And for these weird antlers, at first I thought they were supposed to be tree branches, which they might be, and I was gonna put some like leaves and stuff on them, and that would probably have been pretty That was a glitch in the matrix. It's not because I'm old. You in the back there, shut up. Okay, okay. I did have like a vague idea of like dropping in some little, flocking leafy leaves kind of things in the branches. But when I looked at them closer, I thought maybe they were supposed to be antlers that were chopped off. Like the ends were chopped off. But now I think that's probably wrong. But I didn't realize I was wrong then, so that's why they got painted up like yellow antlers now. None of that made any temporal sense, and that's totally fine. You should go watch another video about painting miniatures where the painter knows what they're doing, is good at what they're doing, and just shows you and doesn't talk like a numbskull. I used some darker express color with medium mixed in to glaze in some shadows on the mask, and I took that as far as I could over time. Shade down, damn it. Yeah, glazing down the face mask was pretty fun and easy. Like, I've never been great at glazing, but with these express colors, they're helping me kind of do the glazing. It's kind of cool. Juan Hidalgo kind of shows you a lot of glazing with contrast colors, and yeah, you should probably go watch him anyway and not be watching this video. The shoulder pads were a bit of a pain to shade down just because of their shape, and I'm not very good at it, so whatever, but I did it, or I did something. And then I thought I'd glaze up just to try to be bold and badass like all of the real painters on YouTube, and I proceeded to make a great big mess on his face mask, the centerpiece of the whole figure, right? So then I panicked and went back and forth with highlighting and glazing back in that turquoise, which had a calming effect to the big mess of the highlight. That shading down calming effect. It's real. It's why we do it. And then red fletching, because red. Anyway, now it's time to shade down the antler things with successive passes of various darker express colors, and then darker express colors. And then I slapped some of those darker colors onto the bone bits on the bow that are supposed to be metal, maybe. And then I went and put even darker express color onto the lower bits of the antlers. Now, I was not sure what color the bow should be. One of my patrons, I don't know if I should call out names here, but one of my patrons told me something once about functional medieval bows needing to be made out of yew wood. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, Google's there in your pocket somewhere, so you can ridicule me And the reason like bows need to be made out of yew wood is because that particular tree or the wood from that tree responds really well to, I guess, dampness or like, moisture in the air and stuff. Like, I guess a lot of other woods might warp or change shape or be tougher to use as bows. And so yew, I guess the tree is called yew, the yew tree, provided a lot of munitions for historical armies back in the day when they had bows and arrows. And I thought that was very cool, and I've never forgotten that little detail. And so I figured a lighter colored, yew wood type bow would be good here, instead of something darker that might take away from the focus on the turquoise mask or, something like that, right? That's what all the YouTube videos tell us. You got to like direct the eye of the viewer. They're going to go to the face of the miniature, and so everything else should be not competing with that. I don't know, man. Every rule is made to be broken. Just roll. Just do your thing. Whatever. Just pick some colors and put them on the model. So I did the light colored bow. And I did the wraps on the bow in the coffee creamer color, but I did consider putting them in red, and I still think that could work. And so almost the last thing to do, I decided to go with the jerkin color on the edges of the armor plates. Simple and not too distracting when we already have this crazy blue color. Right? Then a quick layering of green, brown, and dark blue on the base to give us some overall dark earthy vibes. I mean, when you mix blue and brown, you kind of get this gray color. And so that's kind of what the blue is doing in there. And then an actual Citadel contrast color, Basilicanum gray, to shade down those bow wraps to give them some more contrast. Yeah. I forgot to do a little bit of highlighting on the leather pants, so I just mixed up something quick from the grays and browns that were on the palette and added some bits of scratching and edge highlights just on the straps on his thigh right there. And then check this out. I went into that face mask and shaded down even more with an even darker blue and around the edges where the antlers hit the mask, because I thought they needed some black lining, but I didn't want to do actually like any real black lining, so this dark blue is serving that purpose. And I even put a tiny edge highlight on the cloak with the original light olive green, just for fun. Oh, and the actual metallics. I almost forgot about those. I used this Victorian brass, that's basically a copper from scale 75, to pick those bits out, and that kind of wrapped this guy up. I brush painted on AK Ultramatte and touched up the arrowhead on the bow, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with this guy, and it was really fun to paint. I probably spent about 8 hours on him total over pretty much a single day. I kind of probably put about 6 hours into it on one day and then 2 hours the following day. And I was just having fun, and it was just a relaxed painting project that was, again, just for the lack of vocabulary, it was just relaxing and fun, and I just had fun. Did I really write that in the script last night? Let me read this to you word for word, that I actually wrote this, and then I said it. I was having so much fun, and it was just a relaxed painting project that was totally relaxing and fun. I just had fun. Those are the words that are on my screen, on my teleprompter, right there. That's what I wrote. Oh, that's unreal. It's just a time thing. It's what it is. Lack of time impacts quality in a lot of ways. But shading down is my new mantra. Highlight up. Shading down's the way to go. And I'm going to make that shirt at some point, and I'm going to wear it. Dang it. I don't know. These Express colors are very cool. I recommend those. I'm not trying to sell things or make people go out and buy stuff, but I know most of you out there have the little collector vibes going on, and you want to try new things out. I'd say give the Express colors, give them a try. They're cool. Contrast is great. The Express colors are just a little bit more forgiving in that they don't dry quite as fast as the contrast colors from Citadel. And they come in dropper bottles, which is very handy. Anyway, so go shade down some minis. See ya.